Hey everyone, Sawmill Charlie. Well, it's May the 6th. It's about 75 degrees. And I'm out here in the apiary. This past Thursday, I had went through 8 out of the 12 honey hives I have here. And I did not find any queen cells. I did find a hive or two that might have went queenless. But to recap on the last couple of videos I've been doing about single brood chamber management, we started out in the beginning of April, and we supered up with 2 medium brood chamber, a queen excluder, and then multiple honey supers, trying to relieve the swarm pressure and the congestion in the hive. And that did not work. I still had queen cells after 2 weeks. So then I went back to my normal procedure of the past 2 years, and that was to equalize the hive by taking approximately half of the fully capped brood frames out and putting them in a weaker hive, or as I call it, a modified Demaree, where I will take the brood frames out of the bottom, replace them with empty drawn comb frames, and then when I get the stack completely put back together, 2 brood chamber, queen excluder, multiple honey supers, then I would put a box on top and put those brood frames up top. And of course, before I did that, I shook all the bees off to make sure the queen didn't come along with it. And then the worker bees and the nurse bees would come up and cover that brood up, and then the brood would hatch, and then I would repeat the process of cycling the empty brood from the top back, brood frames from the top down into the brood chamber, and then more cap brood upstairs to maintain the amount of bees down there, and making sure that the queen had plenty of room to lay. So today I have got some hives here that are possibly queenless. I received a phone call from a friend of mine who said that he had a lot of queen cells if I wanted them. So I did go up to his place and get them. So we were going through the hives, and we had one frame there that had multiple queen cells. I'm talking 5 or 6 or more on one frame on both sides. So we sat that frame out, shook the bees off, and sat it out alongside the hive, and went through a couple more hives. And when we went back to that frame, I happened to notice one of the cells looked like it had emerged, a queen had emerged out of it. And sure enough, there was. So by the time I got done looking at the different queen cells, I came away with 5 virgin queens off of one frame of his cap brood with queen cells on there. So that is really going to help me out here today. So let's go ahead and get into this hive here. I did have some people on my live chat on Friday nights at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time wanted to be a little more clarification about my modified Demaree, so I will try to do that for you. This hive that we've been working on in the video, I believe it might have went queenless on me, and if it has, I will introduce a virgin queen that I happen to just get from my friend's house, and we'll do that, and hopefully show everybody how we do that. All I'm going to do is just let her walk right in. There won't be any introduction. We'll just let her walk in, and then she'll go out and get mated and hopefully start laying eggs in about 2 weeks. So let's go ahead and get in the hives. All right, we're here at the hive. I'm going to go ahead and take the lid off and take the inner cover off here. Now, for the folks that were on my live chat understanding about the Demaree, the purple box is basically a secondary brood chamber laid up on top. Now, I have here approximately 3 frames of brood that I placed up here from the bottom box, and I had, of course, shook all the bees off before I put it in this box and replaced the frames with open drawn comb of brood comb. I'm going to go ahead and take these 3 frames out, and they are completely hatched, and there is some nectar up here. And now what I've done along with these 3 frames, here's another one that's completely hatched, and it has a little bit of nectar, but not much. Now those frames will go back downstairs if we need to take more brood out in the 2 medium brood chamber setup that I have. Along with this set of 3 frames here is I put in foundation. And as you can see, they have started to draw that out, and that's what I wanted to do. And I figured, well, if they draw it out, I didn't want to put any open brood foundation because they will just want to fill it up with nectar. So it's coming along, and they're not filling it out as far as drawing the comb like I had thought they would, but the nectar flow has just started here. About 3 days ago, our locust trees have just started to bloom, so the main honey flow for us here in Maryland has started. About a week or 2 early, actually. So let's go ahead and take this top brood chamber off. Now we're down in the honey supers. I want to kind of check to see how they're filling. They got plenty of room up here. What I'm doing this year with my honey supers is I'm waiting for them to, this is completely empty for the most part. This must be one of the newest honey supers I put on. I'm leaving, even though it's got drawn wax, I want them to fill it out with nectar. Then I will go from a 10 frame to a 9 frame honey super and space it out. Hopefully the bees will draw the wax out wider and fill it with more nectar and then cap it off. In past years, I tried 9 frame with the size of the drawn wax as it is right now, and they seem to draw a lot of cross comb in there, which I don't particularly care for. So I'm trying to encourage them not to do that this year, and trying to experiment with letting them fill it out and then pull 1 frame out of the box. All right, I'm going to go ahead and take this super off. I've got a couple telescoping lids here upside down that I'm going to put them on. We've got plenty of bees in this box. They are starting to cap. Very nice. So what I will probably do here is pull one of these frames out, take the bees off, and turn this honey super into a 9 frame super. And see if we can get them to draw the wax out a little wider. We'll go ahead and set this off to the side for now. Get down into the brood chamber. Check these. Another honey super. And they still have to fill this out, and I'm sure that will happen here in the next week or so with the locusts blooming. Take the queen excluder off. Now I want to go down here into the brood chamber. I'm going to go ahead and bring you up a little bit closer so you can see what I'm doing. All right, we're going to go into the top brood chamber, see how things are going, see if we can find eggs and larvae in all stages. I do have some cap brood here, but I do not have any larvae or eggs. We do have a cap queen cell that seems to be, or not a cap queen cell, but where maybe a virgin has emerged. So we'll continue on inspecting. I have some remnants of cap brood, but no eggs or no larvae. So I am highly suspected that this is going to be a queenless hive. I definitely have a queen cell here that has a nice lid. That tells me it definitely hatched. And we should have a queen laying here probably in the next 2 weeks. Let's go ahead and get down into the second brood chamber box. We've got more cap brood. We do have a queen cell here. And more cap brood. That's good. Keep the population up. I'm not going to take any brood out of this hive. Of course, there's not that much cap brood to begin with. There's another queen cell. So we're going to go ahead and put it back together. Put the queen excluder back on. And then back with the honey supers. Now what I will do is I will probably leave the Demaree box off, and there's no need for it except for maybe making some for them to draw the wax out. And then here's our third honey super, which is pretty full. This is the one that I will space out to 9 frames, since that they have got it filled, but they're just starting to cap. All right, we've got the last honey super up on top that is pretty full, but they're just starting to cap. I'm going to use my spacing tool here, which is for 9 frame, and I'm spacing these frames out evenly with this tool for 9 frame spacing. Sometimes you have to shove it over a little bit to get it spaced out correctly. And it's a pretty good tool. It's plastic. I've seen some that are steel. I think maybe the steel might be a little bit more easier to use, a little more rugged, I guess you would say. So there we have it. It's 9 frames spacing. Hopefully they'll draw this wax out wider since it is full with nectar, and put more honey in it, and that way I can, with the wider wax, I can uncap it a lot easier with my honey plane. Hopefully what I'm thinking is that when they draw this wax out, and I use a honey plane which does not take a lot of the uncapping, just barely the uncapping wax only off, that next year my wax will be fatter on the frames, and I will start out with 9 frames just in the beginning when I put my honey supers on. So that's my goal when it comes to the 9 frame spacing. Now, as far as the Demaree box here, it's not needed. I'm going to leave it off. I'm going to take these bees that are on the frames that were the old brood frames and shake them off into the hive, and then store these frames. They do have a little bit of nectar, but I'm sure the bees will like to rob that out. And go ahead and close this hive up. It does have queen cells in it. There's a couple of them that I've seen where they had little lids where the queen had possibly emerged. I'm going to let it go for a week or so and see whether or not these queens come back mated, and hopefully one of them will start with this hive and start laying eggs in it. Well, everyone, that's all I have for you today. So until next time, please like, subscribe, click the notification bell, share my videos with your friends, and have fun with your bees.